The summer I turned 23 was supposed to be simple. I'd just graduated from college with a degree in graphic design, moved back to my hometown of Riverside, and was living in my parents' basement while I figured out my next move. My plan was to build my portfolio, apply for jobs in the city, and maybe, just maybe, finally come out to my family. That plan lasted exactly 2 weeks before my cousin, Maya, called Jamie. "Perfect timing," she said, her voice bright with the kind of enthusiasm that usually meant she needed something. "Remember how I told you about my friend Ethan? The one who's doing that cross-country photography project?" "Vaguely," I said, though I didn't remember at all. Maya had a lot of friends, and she talked about all of them constantly. "Well, he's passing through Riverside next week, and he needs a place to crash for a few nights. I told him he could stay with you." "Maya, I live in my parents' basement. I have a twin bed." "Perfect. He doesn't need much space. He's really easygoing, I promise. Plus, Jamie, you'll love him. He's smart and funny." And she paused meaningfully. "I think you two would really hit it off." There was something in her tone that made me suspicious. Maya was one of the few people who knew I was gay, and she'd been trying to set me up with every queer man she'd ever met for the past year. "Maya, is this another one of your matchmaking attempts?" "No. Well, maybe a little. But honestly, Ethan genuinely needs a place to stay. And you have space. I wouldn't suggest it if I didn't think you'd like each other." Sighed. I owed Maya she'd been my rock when I came out to her 2 years ago, had never once made me feel weird or different. "Fine. When is he arriving?" "Tomorrow afternoon." "Tomorrow, Maya." I know. Short notice. But you're the best cousin ever, and I love you." She hung up before I could protest further. I looked around my basement bedroom. It was small, but clean, a twin bed pushed against one wall, a desk with my computer set up, a small dresser, and not much else. There was a bathroom upstairs I shared with my parents, and the living room had a decent couch. Tomorrow afternoon. Great. Ethan arrived at 3 p.m. on a Saturday, and the first thing I noticed was that Maya had severely undersold how attractive he was. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with dark, messy hair that looked artfully tousled, warm brown eyes, and the kind of casual confidence that came from someone comfortable in their own skin. He wore worn jeans, a fitted gray t-shirt, and had a camera bag slung over one shoulder and a backpack over the other. "Jamie?" he asked, smiling as I opened the door. His voice was deeper than I expected, with a slight rasp that did things to my nervous system. "Yeah, hi. You must be Ethan." Guilty. He extended his hand, and when I shook it, his grip was warm and firm. "Thanks so much for letting me crash here. Maya's told me a lot about you. All good things, I hope, I said, stepping back to let him in. Mostly, he grinned. She mentioned you're a graphic designer. That's cool. I'd love to see your work sometime. My parents were out for the day, my mom at her book club, my dad playing golf, so the house was quiet as I led Ethan downstairs to the basement. It's not much, but it's perfect, Ethan interrupted, setting his bags down and looking around. I've been sleeping in my car or on friends' couches for the past month. This is luxury. He looked at the twin bed, then at me. So, where will you sleep? I've been dreading this question. The couch, upstairs. It's fine, really. Jamie, no way. This is your room. I can take the couch. You're the guest. I'm the imposition, he corrected. I'm not kicking you out of your own bed. We argued about it for a few minutes before Ethan suggested a compromise. What if we just share the bed? It's a twin, but we're both pretty thin. We can make it work for a couple nights. My heart did something complicated in my chest. Share a bed with this gorgeous man who smelled like cedar and something else indefinable. Are you sure? Totally sure. I don't snore, and I promise not to steal the covers. Plus, Maya mentioned he hesitated. Well, she said you'd be cool with it, if you know what I mean. So Maya had told him I was gay. Great. Yeah, I'm cool with it, I said, trying to sound casual. Just fair warning, I'm a restless sleeper. I'll survive, Ethan said with a grin. The first day with Ethan was surprisingly easy. He was, as Maya had promised, easygoing and funny. We spent the afternoon talking about his photography project, documenting small-town America. My graphic design work, mostly freelance stuff. Our mutual frustration with trying to build creative careers. It's hard, Ethan admitted, as we ate pizza on the basement floor that evening. My parents had come home, met him briefly, and seemed charmed. Everyone wants to know how you're going to make money from art. Like, I don't know, maybe I just want to create beautiful things. Exactly, I said. My dad keeps asking when I'm going to get a real job. He doesn't understand that graphic design is a real job. Parents, Ethan said, shaking his head. Mine are the same. They wanted me to be a lawyer. What happened? I dropped out of law school after one semester and bought a camera. He smiled. Best decision I ever made, even if it did give my mom a minor heart attack. We talked until past midnight, and when we finally decided to sleep, there was an awkward moment of figuring out the logistics. The twin bed was small. Really small. We ended up lying on our sides, facing away from each other, pressed together out of necessity. I could feel the heat of Ethan's back against mine. Could hear his breathing slowly evening out. Thanks again for this, Ethan murmured. Already half asleep. No problem, I whispered back. I lay awake for a long time, hyper-aware of every point where our bodies touched, my heart beating too fast. This was going to be a long few nights. I woke up the next morning to find myself completely wrapped around Ethan. Sometime during the night, I'd rolled over and draped my arm across his waist, my face pressed against his shoulder. He was still asleep, breathing deeply, and I froze in mortification. Carefully, slowly, I tried to extract myself without waking him. But the moment I moved, Ethan stirred. "Morning," he mumbled, his voice rough with sleep. "Sorry," I said quickly, pulling back. "I didn't mean to. It's fine." He rolled onto his back and stretched, and his shirt rolled up, revealing a strip of toned stomach. I looked away quickly. "Told you, I don't mind. You're actually really warm." It was nice. Nice. He thought it was nice. I was doomed. We fell into a routine over the next few days. Ethan would go out during the day, exploring Riverside with his camera, and I'd work on my portfolio. In the evenings, we'd eat together, sometimes cooking, sometimes ordering in talk for hours. I learned that Ethan was 25, had grown up in Seattle, and had been traveling for 6 months. He showed me his photos, and they were breathtaking, intimate portraits of small-town life, landscapes that captured something essential about America. "You're really talented," I told him one night as we scrolled through his portfolio on his laptop. "Thanks. You too," he said, nodding at my own work displayed on my desktop. "That logo design is incredible. The way you incorporated the negative space, smart." We were sitting close on the bed, shoulders touching, and I was acutely aware of the warmth of his body next to mine. "Can I ask you something?" Ethan said suddenly. "Sure. Maya mentioned you recently graduated. What's keeping you in Riverside? Why not move to the city?" I considered how to answer. Honestly, fear, mostly. I'm scared to take the leap. Scared I'm not good enough. Scared of. I stopped. Scared of what? Scared of being openly gay in a new place, I admitted. I know that sounds stupid. The city is way more accepting than here. But at least in Riverside, I know who's safe and who isn't. Starting over somewhere new. I get that. It took me years to come out to my family. And even now, there are places I go where I'm careful about how I present myself. I looked at him in surprise. "You're gay." "Yeah," he smiled. "Did Maya not mention that?" "No, she conveniently left that out." "Typical Maya." Ethan laughed. "She probably thought it would be funnier if we figured it out ourselves." Something shifted in the air between us. Before, there had been plausible deniability. Maybe he was just friendly. Maybe I was reading too too much into things. But now, for what it's worth, Ethan said, I think you should move to the city. You're talented enough, and sometimes you have to jump before you're ready. Is that what you did? With the photography project? Yeah, scariest thing I've ever done. But also the best. That night, we lay in bed, facing each other for the first time. The space between us was small, maybe 6 inches in the darkness. I could just make out the shape of his face. Jamie. Ethan whispered, Yeah. I'm really glad Maya asked you to let me stay here. Me too, I whispered back. I fell asleep watching him breathe, wondering what it would be like to close that 6 inches between us. On Ethan's 4th night in Riverside, everything changed. We'd spent the day together. I'd taken a break from my portfolio to show him around town. And he'd photographed everything from the old movie theater to the diner where I'd worked in high school. It was easy being with him, comfortable in a way I'd never experienced with anyone else. That evening, we cooked dinner together in my parents' kitchen. They'd gone out for their weekly date night, so we had the house to ourselves. Ethan made pasta while I worked on a salad, and we drank wine and laughed at stupid jokes. You know what I've noticed about small towns? Ethan said, stirring the sauce. Everyone knows everyone's business. Like, the guy at the gas station this morning asked if I was Maya's friend staying with her cousin. How did he even know that? That's Riverside, I said. News travels fast. By tomorrow, everyone will know what brand of toothpaste you use. Terrifying. But he was grinning. After dinner, we ended up on the couch, watching a movie. It was some action thing neither of us was particularly interested in, but it was nice just to sit together. At some point, Ethan stretched his arm along the back of the couch, and I was hyper-aware of how close his hand was to my shoulder. Jamie, he said, during a quiet scene, can I ask you something personal? Sure. Have you ever? I mean, have you dated anyone? Guys, I mean. I felt my face heat. Not really. A couple of hookups in college, but nothing serious. It's hard when you're not out. What about you? I had a boyfriend for 2 years. Ended about 8 months ago, right before I started this trip. Ethan's voice was careful, neutral. We wanted different things. He wanted to settle down, buy a house, all that. I wanted to travel and figure out who I am. Do you regret it? Ending things? No, he said it with certainty. It was the right call, but it's been lonely sometimes. Being on the road, not having anyone to share things with. Is that why you're telling me this? Because you're lonely. Ethan turned to look at me, and his expression was intense. I'm telling you because I like you, Jamie. Like, really like you. And I think Kai hope you might feel the same way. My breath caught. I do, I managed to say. Feel the same way. Yeah. Ethan's hand moved from the couch to my shoulder, his touch gentle. Because I don't want to misread this, but these past few days, being with you, it's been really good. Better than good. Me too, I whispered. But Ethan, you're leaving soon. You're traveling across the country. I don't want to start something that has to end. He finished. I know. I've been thinking about that too. We sat in silence for a moment, the movie forgotten. What if we just see what happens? Ethan said finally. We have a few more days. Maybe we don't worry about what comes after. Maybe we just enjoy now. It was terrible logic. It was going to hurt when he left, but I found myself nodding anyway. Okay. Ethan smiled, and then he leaned in and kissed me. It was soft at first, tentative, his lips warm against mine. But when I kissed back, something ignited between us. His hand cupped my face, and I grabbed his shirt, pulling him closer. The kiss deepened, became hungry, desperate. We made out on a couch like teenagers until we heard my parents' car in the driveway. We broke apart, both breathing hard, and Ethan laughed. We should probably go downstairs, I finished. Yeah, we barely made it to the basement before my parents came in. Once the door was closed, we looked at each other and started laughing again. Giddy with adrenaline. That was close, Ethan said. Too close. But we were still standing close together, and Ethan reached out to tuck a strand of hair behind my ear. Hi, he said softly. Hi, is it okay if I kiss you again? Instead of answering, I kissed him, and this time we didn't stop. We stumbled toward the bed, still kissing, shedding clothes as we went. Ethan's hands were everywhere my face, my hair sliding under my shirt to touch bare skin. I'd never felt anything like this overwhelming need to be closer, to touch and be touched. Is this okay? Ethan asked, his voice rough as he pulled back to look at me. We were down to our underwear, pressed together on the small twin bed. Yes, I breathed. Very okay. I don't want to rush you. You're not, I interrupted. I want this. I want you. Ethan kissed me again, deep and thorough, and his hands explored my body with a reverence that made me shiver. When he touched me through my boxers, I gasped into his mouth. Tell me what you want, Ethan murmured against my lips. Everything, I said honestly. I want everything with you. We took our time, despite the urgency thrumming through both of us. Ethan was patient, attentive, asking if I was okay at every step. When he finally pushed inside me, moving slowly and carefully, I felt complete in a way I'd never experienced. You feel amazing, Ethan groaned, his face buried in my neck. So good, Jamie. We moved together, finding a rhythm, and it was intense and overwhelming and perfect. When I came, Ethan followed moments later. and we collapsed together in a tangle of limbs and sweat. Wow, I said, eventually, still catching my breath. Yeah. Ethan propped himself up on one elbow to look down at me, his hair even messier than usual, his eyes soft. You're incredible. We just had sex in my parents' basement, I said, suddenly struck by the absurdity. We did. He grinned. Very quietly, I might add. I'm impressed with our stealth skills. I laughed, and Ethan kissed me again. This time, slow and sweet. We cleaned up as best we could, then lay in bed together, facing each other in the darkness. Ethan's arm was around my waist, holding me close, and I'd never felt so safe. I don't want you to leave, I admitted quietly. I don't want to leave, Ethan said. But Jamie, my project, I have to finish it. I made commitments to people, to galleries that are going to show the work. And you have your life here, your family, I know, I interrupted. I know. I'm not asking you to stay. I'm just saying it, that I wish things were different. Ethan was quiet for a moment. What if I came back after the project is done? In a few months, would you really? Yeah, I mean, if you wanted me to. If this, he gestured between us, is something you want to continue. I want that. But Ethan, a few months is a long time. What if you change your mind? What if you meet someone else? I won't, he said firmly. I know this is fast. I know we've only known each other less than a week. But Jamie, I feel something with you that I've never felt before. I don't want to lose that. I don't either, I whispered. So, we'll figure it out. Long distance until I finish the tour, and then we'll see where we are. It wasn't a perfect solution. There were so many things that could go wrong. But in that moment, lying in Ethan's arms, I let myself believe it could work. We made love again that night. Slower this time, savoring every touch and kiss. And when we finally slept, we were wrapped around each other so tightly it was hard to tell where one of us ended and the other began. I woke to sunlight streaming through the basement window and Ethan's face inches from mine. He was already awake, watching me with a soft smile. Morning, he said. Hi. I felt suddenly shy, the reality of what we'd done last night settling over me. Did you sleep okay? Best sleep I've had in months. He reached out to trace my jawline with his finger. You. Same. We lay there for a moment, just looking at each other, before Ethan leaned in and kissed me. It started soft, but quickly deepened, and I felt him hardening against my thigh. We should probably, I started, but Ethan cut me off with another kiss. Your parents, he murmured against my lips. Church. They won't be back for hours. Good. And then Ethan was rolling me onto my back, settling between my legs, and rational thought became impossible. We spent the morning in bed, alternating between talking and touching, learning each other's bodies. Ethan told me about the places he'd been, the people he'd photographed. I told him about my dreams of moving to the city, starting my own design firm. "You should do it," Ethan said, propped up on one elbow, his hand tracing idle patterns on my chest. "Move to the city. Take the leap." "Maybe I will," I said. "After you finish your tour, we could. Maybe we could get a place together." Ethan's hand stilled. "You'd want that. If this works out, if we make it through the long distance." "Yeah, I'd want that." He kissed me, deep and thorough. "I'd want that too." Ethan was supposed to leave on Monday. Sunday night came too quickly. We spent his last full day together, exploring Riverside one more time. Ethan took photos of the town, of me, of us together, using the timer on his camera. We drove out to the lake where I used to swim as a kid, and sat on the dock, our feet dangling in the water. "I'm going to miss this," Ethan said, his hand finding mine between us. "Miss you. We'll talk every day," I promised. "Video calls, texts, whatever you need. It won't be the same as this." He squeezed my hand. "As being able to touch you, I know." We were quiet for a while, watching the sun sink lower in the sky. "Jamie," Ethan said finally, "I need you to know something. This week, it wasn't just a vacation fling for me. You're not just some guy I hooked up with. I'm serious about this. About us. I am too," I said. "More serious than I've ever been about anything good." He turned to look at me, his eyes intense. "Because I'm falling for you, hard. And I need to know you feel the same before I leave." My breath caught. "I do feel the same. I'm falling for you, too." Ethan kissed me there, on the dock, in the fading sunlight. And I tried to memorize everything about this moment, the warmth of his lips, the way his hand cupped my face, the sound of the water lapping against the posts below us. That night, we made love one last time. It was different from before, slower, more intense, tinged with the bittersweet knowledge that morning would mean goodbye. "I don't want to sleep," I whispered against Ethan's chest afterward. "I don't want to waste any time." "Me neither." He kissed the top of my head. "But we should rest. Tomorrow's going to be hard enough." I burrowed closer to him, and eventually, exhaustion won. I fell asleep, listening to his heartbeat, trying not to think about how empty the bed would feel tomorrow night. Monday morning came too fast. Ethan had to leave by 9 a.m. to make his next destination, small town, 3 hours away, where he had a scheduled interview. I helped him pack, and we moved slowly, both of us dragging out the inevitable. "You'll call when you get there?" I asked as he zipped up his backpack. "The second I arrive. And every night after that." Ethan pulled me into his arms. "We're going to make this work, Jamie. I promise. I know." But I was crying anyway, tears streaming down my face. "Sorry, I'm not usually this emotional. It's okay to be sad." Ethan was crying too, I realized. I am too. But this isn't goodbye forever. It's just goodbye for now. We stood in my driveway, holding each other, neither wanting to be the first to let go. Finally, Ethan pulled back. "I have to go. If I stay any longer, I'll never leave. Would that be so bad?" I tried to smile through the tears. "Yes, because then I'd never finish this project, and we'd both resent it eventually." He kissed me one more time. "I love you." I know it's soon to say it, but I do. I love you. "I love you too," I said. The words feeling both terrifying and absolutely right. Ethan climbed into his car, and I stood there watching as he drove away, my heart breaking a little with every foot of distance between us. The first week after Ethan left was the hardest. I moped around the basement, unable to focus on work, checking my phone constantly. We texted throughout the day and video called every night, but it wasn't the same as having him there. "You really miss him, huh?" Maya said when she came over that weekend. I'd finally told her everything that had happened. "Is it that obvious? You look like a sad puppy." Sat next to me on the couch. "But Jamie, I'm happy for you. Ethan's a good guy. If anyone can make long-distance work, it's you too." I hope so. The weeks turned into a month, then 2. Ethan and I fell into a routine good morning texts, sporadic messages throughout the day, hour-long video calls at night. He showed me the photos he was taking, and I showed him the designs I was working on. I got a job offer, I told him during one call, 2 months after he'd left. A firm in the city. It's entry level, but it's a start. Ethan's face lit up on the screen. "Jamie, that's amazing. Are you going to take it?" "I think so. It's scary, but you were right about taking the leap. I'm so proud of you." His smile was warm, genuine. "When do you start?" "Next month. I'll need to find an apartment, figure out logistics. I'll help. I can be there in 2 weeks for a few days. I'm between stops anyway." "Really? You'd come back?" "Of course. I told you, Jamie. I'm in this completely." Seeing Ethan again after 2 months was surreal. I picked him up at the bus station, and when I saw him walking toward me, backpack slung over his shoulder and that familiar smile on his face, I ran. We collided in the middle of the station, and I didn't care who was watching as I kissed him. He kissed me back just as fiercely, his arms tight around me. "God, I missed you," Ethan said when we finally broke apart. "Missed you so much." we went back to my parents' house, was still. Living there until I moved to the city and barely made it to the basement before we were tearing each other's clothes off. Being with him again felt like coming home. I forgot how good this is, Ethan murmured afterward, his fingers tracing patterns on my bare back. How good we are. I didn't forget, I said. I thought about it constantly. But we also apartment hunted together, Ethan helping me search online listings and come up with a budget. He had opinions about neighborhoods and commute times, and it felt domestic and real in a way that made my chest ache with happiness. What if Ethan started on his last night there, then stopped? What? What if I cut the tour short, just by a couple months? I could finish up the last few stops quickly, and then come to the city. I finished, hardly daring to hope. Yeah, move in with you, if you'd want that. I know it's fast, but we could get a 2-bedroom. Have separate space if we need it. And Jamie, I'm tired of being away from you. Yes, I said immediately. Yes, I want that. So much. Ethan kissed me, smiling against my lips. Okay. Give me 6 weeks to wrap up the tour, and then I'm all yours. 6 weeks later, Ethan moved into our apartment in the city. It was smaller, cramped 2-bedroom in a not great neighborhood, but it was ours. We painted the walls, bought second-hand furniture, and slowly turned it into a home. I started my job at the design firm and discovered I loved it. My coworkers were cool, the projects were challenging, and for the first time, I felt like I was on the right path. Ethan got a job teaching photography at a community college while he compiled his tour photos into a book proposal. How's work? Became our evening ritual. We'd cook dinner together, we'd surprisingly good in the kitchen and talk about our days. It was ordinary and domestic and everything I'd ever wanted. We had our first real fight 3 months in. It was stupid something about Ethan leaving dishes in the sink, but it escalated into a bigger argument about communication and household responsibilities. We both said things we regretted, and I ended up sleeping on the couch. This is stupid, Ethan said, at 2 a.m., appearing in the living room. I'm sorry. Your right eye should be better about cleaning up. I'm sorry too, I said. I was being passive-aggressive instead of just talking to you. We made up, went back to bed together, and the next day we created a chore chart like adults. The fight had been unpleasant, but we'd gotten through it. That felt significant. 6 months into living together, Ethan suggested we spend Christmas with my family in Riverside.
Are you sure?
I asked. I mean, they know about us, but it might be weird. I want to meet them properly. I want them to see that I'm serious about you. My parents had taken the news of me being gay surprisingly well. My mom had cried, but from happiness, she'd insisted. My dad had been quieter about it. But he'd shaken Ethan's hand when we'd video called to tell them about the move and said, "Take care of my son." Christmas in Riverside was surprisingly nice. My parents doted on Ethan. My younger sister Emma thought he was cool. And Maya came over with her new girlfriend, and we all played board games and drank too much eggnog. "Your family's great," Ethan said, as we lay in my childhood twin bed that night, the same bed where this had all started. "I can see where you get your kindness from. They like you too." My mom asked if we're thinking about marriage. Ethan went very still. "What did you tell her?" "That it's too soon to think about that." I rolled over to face him. "Is it though? Too soon to think about it?" "No." Ethan's hand found mine in the dark. "I think about marrying you all the time. But I figured we should probably live together for more than 6 months before I propose." "Probably wise," I said. But I was grinning. "For the record, when you do propose, I'm saying yes." "Good to know." He kissed me. "I'll keep that in mind." Ethan proposed on our 1-year anniversary of meeting. He'd planned an elaborate scavenger hunt through the city, with clues leading to all our important places, the coffee shop where we'd had our first date after he moved to the city, the park where we went for walks, the art gallery where his photos had been displayed. The final clue led me back to our apartment, where Ethan had covered every surface with candles and photos from the past eras at the farmer's market. Cooking together, curled up on the couch. In the center of it all, Ethan stood holding a ring box. "Jamie Reyes," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "This year with you has been the best year of my life. You make me laugh, you challenge me to be better, and you make me feel more loved than I ever thought possible. Will you marry me?" I was crying too hard to speak, so I just nodded frantically until I could finally choke out, "Yes, yes. Of course, yes." The ring was simpler, silver band with both our initials engraved inside, and it fit perfectly. We made love surrounded by candles and photos, and I'd never felt more certain about anything in my life. We got married 6 months later in a small ceremony in Riverside. It wasn't fancy, just family and close friends in my parents' backyard, with Maya officiating and Emma as our flower girl. But it was perfect. I cried when I saw Ethan waiting for me at the makeshift altar. He looked incredible in his suit, his eyes bright with tears as I walked toward him. "You're gorgeous," he whispered when I reached him. "You're not so bad yourself," I whispered back. We'd written our own vows. Mine were simple. Ethan's made everyone cry. "Jamie, that first night when Maya asked you to let me crash at your place, you changed my life. Your kindness, your creativity, your laugh, they made me want to be better. You make me want to build a life, to put down roots, to wake up every morning knowing I get to spend it with you." I promise to love you fiercely, to make you laugh, and to always, always choose us. When Maya pronounced us married and told us to kiss, we did, to cheers and applause. And as I looked at Ethan, my husband, I thought about how a simple favor for my cousin had led to this moment. Uncle Jamie. Uncle Ethan. Watch this. I looked up from my laptop to see my nephew Marcus Maya's 4-year-old attempting a cartwheel in our backyard. He toppled over halfway through, but jumped up, grinning anyway. That was amazing. Ethan called from where he was manning the grill. We were hosting a summer barbecue at our house, a real house now, with a yard and 3 bedrooms, and a mortgage that made me nervous, but also proud. Best cartwheel I've ever seen, I added, making Marcus beam. Maya wandered over with her wife, Sarah, both of them watching Marcus with fond exasperation. He's been practicing all week, Maya said. He wanted to impress you guys. Mission accomplished, I said, closing my laptop. I was working from home, now left the firm 2 years ago to start my own design company, and it was thriving beyond my wildest dreams. Ethan had published his photography book, which had been well reviewed and sold steadily. He still taught at the community college, but also did freelance photography for magazines and galleries. His work was displayed in our home black and white prints of his cross-country journey, including several of Riverside that made my heart ache with nostalgia. Can you believe it's been 5 years? Maya asked, settling into one of our patio chairs. Since I asked you to let Ethan crash at your place. Best favor I ever did for you, I said. Best favor I ever asked, she countered. You two are disgustingly happy. It's inspiring. I looked across the yard to where Ethan was now chasing Marcus around, both of them laughing. He caught my eye and smiled. That same warm smile that had made me fall in love with him 5 years ago. We'd been through a lot in those 5 years, job changes, health scares, the normal ups and downs of any relationship. But we'd gotten through all of it together, our bond growing stronger with each challenge. Jamie. Ethan called. Come help me with the burgers. You know I always burn them. I got up and walked over to him, slipping my arm around his waist as I peered at the grill. They look good, I said. Liar. But he was smiling, turning to kiss me briefly. I'm glad everyone could come today. Me too. My parents arrived a few minutes later, along with Emma and her new boyfriend. My dad shook Ethan's hand. They'd become close over the years, bonding over sports and home improvement projects. My mom hugged us both and immediately started fussing over the food as the afternoon wore on. I watched our families mingle and laugh together and felt overwhelming gratitude. 5 years ago, I'd been living in my parents' basement, scared to come out, scared to take chances. Now, I was married to the love of my life. running my own business, surrounded by people who loved and accepted me exactly as I was. "What are you thinking about?" Ethan asked, coming up behind me and wrapping his arms around my waist. "How lucky I am," I said, honestly. "How 1 week changed my entire life." "Our lives," Ethan corrected. "You changed mine just as much." He rested his chin on my shoulder. "I love you. I love you too." I turned in his arms to kiss him properly, not caring that our families were watching. "Get a room," Maya called, but she was laughing later that night. After everyone had left and we'd cleaned up, Ethan and I lay in our bed king size now. Plenty of room for both of us, and I thought about how far we'd come from that cramped twin bed in my parents' basement. "Remember that first night?" I asked, "when we shared my bed for the first time?" "How could I forget?" Ethan said. "I was so nervous. I wanted to kiss you so badly, but I wasn't sure if you felt the same way." I did. From that first night, I think, I traced patterns on his chest. I'm glad Maya set us up. Me too. Remind me to thank her again tomorrow. We lay in comfortable silence for a while, just holding each other. Outside, I could hear cicadas singing and the distant sound of traffic. Ordinary sounds of an ordinary summer night. But lying here with Ethan, I felt anything but ordinary. I felt blessed, lucky, completely and utterly loved. "Hey, Jamie," Ethan said sleepily. "Yeah, I'm really glad I didn't just sleep beside you that night. I'm really glad I didn't stop there." "Me too. Best decision we ever made." "Best decision we ever made," Ethan echoed. And then, like we had every night for the past 5 years, we fell asleep, wrapped around each other. Two people who'd started as strangers, sharing a too-small bed, and had somehow built a whole life together. It had started with a simple request asterisk, "Can my friend crash at your place?" Asterisk. But it had become so much more. A love story, a partnership, a home, and I wouldn't change a single moment of it. This story is about taking chances, being brave enough to be vulnerable, and finding love in unexpected places. Sometimes the best things in life come from simply saying yes to new experiences, if it's just letting your cousins, friends sleep beside you for a few nights. Thank you for reading Jamie and Ethan's story.